Okay, at this time, I would like to welcome to the podium the principal of Massillon Washington High School, Mr. Dave Lautenschlager.
Thank you. Anytime I'm able to grab a mic, Maggie Albrecht this morning, she says, you look so comfortable up at the microphone all the time, and what she doesn't realize is I'm still always every bit as nervous every time I'm up in front of people speaking, and try to make it not seem that way. But I appreciate her saying those things, and I'm appreciative to all of you for giving me the opportunity just to say a few words and kind of just sum up my observations. I promise I'll keep it short. This is one of my favorite events, absolutely one of my favorite events that moves throughout Washington High School, just because you get to meet really, really great people and dig back into their stories is just unbelievable. So I appreciate the opportunity just to say a few words. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Kathy Maxon and Nancy Budner. We have our luncheon this afternoon at Washington High School, and they basically take care of everything. They're two of my administrative assistants, and they deserve a lot of credit for things that people don't usually see, so I'm very thankful for them. The Alumni Association and our Distinguished Citizens Committee, along with the distinguished citizens and their families, for coming back to share the good news and excitement and your recognition. Thank you for doing that. I get the opportunity. One of the greatest parts of this job is obviously Massillon-McKinley Week in football is a really, really cool experience for everybody probably out here. Being the principal sometimes and chasing a 45-year-old drunk man around a parking lot really isn't a great part of my job. So it looks different for me. But this event is a really cool event, and I'm the guy that gets to call once we settle on the distinguished citizens. I'm the guy that gets to call and make that phone call for our distinguished citizens to let them know that they have been honored as distinguished citizens. And so I got to tell you, to hear their emotion on the phone when I call them, you got to know that I'm looking at all their backgrounds right in front of me. So I have Dr. Keener, and I've got Sheriff Maier, and I've got all these guys' background. I'm looking at this list of accomplishments, and I'm humbled a lot of times because here I am talking to Rick Spielman. I'm talking to these people, and you know that they've gotten awards in their lives, which are really, really incredible, right? When I tell them that they've been honored as distinguished citizens at Massillon High School, I kid you not, there is emotion on the phone. I'm not going to admit to you guys how they're reacting to save their pride probably, but there's moments on that phone that are super emotional. It takes a little time for them to gather themselves because they are so honored. And Sheriff Maier said it a couple days ago. He said, it's because this is home. When you're recognized by people at your own school, it means something. And I guess it took me back a little bit just to make a few comments in regards to, for me, it's amazing how the Lord takes normal people, everyday people, and does extraordinary, incredible things with them. Just regular people. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, actually. I'm not, as a public school administrator, I don't get to say that a whole lot of times, so I really appreciate it. But I do think it's powerful. The Lord takes these normal people and does incredibly impactful things. And we're here celebrating these distinguished citizens. But I got to tell you, I truly believe that He wants us all to be distinguished, right? He wants us all to do great things. He wants us all to be impactful, and He wants us all to make sure that our stories are out there for everybody to see. And the crazy thing is, He then, after these folks have done all these great things, the most amazing thing through the triumph and the hardship and the horrible times and the excitement and the happiness, the crazy thing is, He brings them back to this table so that He can use them to tell us about all the great things that they've done. We give them plaques, but it's interesting to me how He's basically blessed these folks so that they can come back and then tell their stories to us. And it's one observation that that never usually doesn't stop kind of sitting with me sometimes. And so I got to be honest with you, I could stand up here for another hour because I never get to talk about religion in school. So I'm really thankful that I can at least make the acknowledgement that he is great, right? Yeah. And so I know it's this. I'll kind of close here. It really struck a nerve with me as well. Dawn Staley, if anybody here watched the women's national championship game last Sunday, if you saw that, South Carolina wins the national championship, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. At the very end of the game, she said something on camera to the world that summarized everything that I believe. She said that through all the trials and all the tribulations and the loss last year to Iowa in the Final Four, she said that the Lord has a way of producing uncommon favor amongst people. That's everybody in this room. We've all been blessed, and he basically gives us this uncommon favor so that we can go in front of people and tell our stories to make sure that everybody knows that we are blessed. So we should be thankful. God bless you. Have a great night.
And now, to introduce our scholarship winners for the 2023-24 school year, here is a favorite faculty member. Many of you will remember her, Miss Barbara Hegel. Mrs. Barbara Hegel.
The Washington High School Alumni Scholarship Fund was established in 1986 to provide scholarships to deserving seniors who desire to continue their education and accomplish the goals they set for themselves. The awards are granted to students who have excelled academically and have contributed to their school and community. These awards not only provide an incentive for students, but also emphasize the message that academic achievement is valued in our community. The Scholarship Fund has steadily grown from its first donation of $85 to its current value of approximately $840,000. Money comes into the fund from many sources. We receive donations from alumni, friends, past classes, memorials, bequests from estates, and fundraisers. These donations may range from $5 to $30,000. Starting in 1989, with one $350 scholarship at the Distinguished Citizens Banquet, the awards have grown in size and number. To date, 661 students have received scholarships totaling $622,820. This year, 32 students will receive $1,000 scholarship. Miss Maslin, an outstanding senior boy, will receive an additional scholarship. Thank you to all who have contributed to the Scholarship Fund. It needs to keep growing so that more students will be helped with college expenses. And before we begin, on behalf of the Scholarship Committee, I would like to recognize Kathleen Green, our member who passed away suddenly in March. Kathy, a retired City Schools librarian, considered greatly to working further the education of our Maslin students. Many of you might know her as the shout lady at the Tiger football games. She is greatly missed. The 2024 Washington High School Alumni Scholarship recipients are Margaret Albrecht. Parents, Jennifer Albrecht and Chris Albrecht. Margaret will be attending Kent State University, majoring in biology. Savannah Bertrell. Parents Sean Marie Bertrell and Stephen Bertrell. She will be attending Ohio State University, majoring in anthropology. Isabella Bird. Parent Brent Bird will be attending Stark State. Caitlin Catrone. Parent Frank and Maria Catrone will be attending West Virginia University, majoring in applied health services. Megan Dingy. Parents Brent Dingy and Joni Dingy will be attending Kent State University, majoring in early childhood education. Mariah Duplain. Parent Maureen and Chad Hennon and the late Matt Duplain will be attending Kent State University, majoring in nursing. Micaiah Edwards is not able to attend. Micaiah, okay. Parent Shelley Reed and Angelo Edwards is majoring in nursing. Liberty Erickson. Parents Josh and Monica Erickson will be attending Kent State University, majoring in fashion design. Cody Fair will be receiving the Gordon B. Williams Scholarship. Parents are Mark and Jenny Fair, and he will be attending the Naval Academy. Weston Filler. Parent Darrell and Susan Filler will be studying nutrition and undecided on the college. Lauren Finley. Parent Rebecca Finley will be attending Kent State Stark, majoring in middle childhood education. Jocelyn Foss, parents Jenny and Jeff Foss, will be attending Mount Union University, majoring in exercise science. Peyton Geisinger, parents Carrie House and Phil Geisinger will be attending Mount Union University, majoring in nursing. Victoria Hartman, parent Kathy Hartman, will be attending Kent Stark, majoring in English and literature. Riley Hendricks, parent Kristen Endlick, will be studying criminal justice. Abigail Hilliard, parents Shelley Kettler and James Hilliard will be studying diagnostic metal sonography. Ryan Hokey, parent Scott and Leslie Hokey will be attending Akron University, majoring in nursing. Riley Hostetler, parents Stacy and Kevin Hostetler will be attending the University of Findlay. Trayton Lutzensliger, parents David and Leslie Lutzensliger will be attending Malone University, majoring in business sports management. Hunter Manson, parents Heath and Jen Manson will be attending Ohio University, majoring in business, analytics, and marketing. Gavin Marceric, parents Jamie and Carrie Marceric. Gavin will be attending Tiffin University, majoring in marketing. Xavier Burkowski, Parents Brian and Cheryl Parakowski will be attending the University of Akron, majoring in communication media. Natalie Ramos will be attending the University of Akron. She will be majoring in medical radiology technology. Shaylin Rierick. Her parents are Rochelle Rierick and Andrew Meinhardt. She will be attending Kent State University, majoring in exercise sciences. Gloria Rivera Holler. Parents Michelle Holler and Mauricio Rivera. She will be majoring in occupational therapy. Matthew Ross. Parents Eric and Amy Ross will be attending Bowling Green State University, majoring in music education. Hayden Smith. Parents are Dennis and Ann Smith. Hayden will be attending Bowling Green State University, majoring in business. Samuel Snodgrass. Parents Steve and Wendy Snodgrass will be attending The Ohio State University, majoring in construction management. Logan Spiker. Parent Tim Spiker will be attending Kent State University, majoring in marketing. Jasmine Starcher. Parents Ed and Marjorie Starcher will be attending the University of Akron, majoring in education. Haley Walters. Parents Shirley Walters and Todd Walters will be attending Malone University, majoring in law. And Nathan Watkins. Parents Mr. and Mrs. Michael Watkins will be attending Muskingum University, majoring in business administration. Congratulations, seniors. We are so very proud of you. And I always tell the seniors, no matter where life takes you, always keep our tiger in your heart. Thank you.
For the invocation, let's please welcome to the podium here the Reverend Walter J. Arrington, who is a graduate of Masson Washington High School. I'll let him tell you what year.
(1972). Let's pray. God our Father, we are thankful for this wonderful opportunity before us, that we might celebrate those who have distinguished themselves apart, as well as our students who are beginning their climb. We thank you for the wonderful blessings that you have bestowed upon all of us. And I pray now to invite you to participate with us, and that your presence and power will be manifested in our presence. We thank you for what we're about to receive, the food, that it will be blessing to our bodies, and as our bodies receive it, that we might be strengthened, nourished, and encouraged on the journey. Again, we bless you in all things, for it indeed is in the name of Jesus the Christ that I pray. Amen.
Once again, welcome to the Washington High School Alumni Association's Distinguished Citizens Celebration, where tonight we have 4 of our distinguished alumni who have done something incredible with their lives, or many things incredible with their lives, and now they serve as an inspiration to our student bodies forevermore. At this time, I would like to recognize some of our former distinguished citizens, who you are still distinguished, of course. We have Marva Dodson, somewhere. Al Paris, former superintendent. Scott Crawford. Bob Catlin. Oh, right there. Bobby Grizzard, running around with the camera, I'm sure. And Brock Herring. We have some elected officials with us tonight. The Honorable Judge Edward Elam. The Honorable Judge Joe Fichter. Law Director Justin Richard. Massillon City Council at Large Sarita Cunningham. Massillon Board of Education member Ron Pribbage. Of course, you've already met the principal of Washington High, Mr. Dave Lautenschlager. We have the current president of the Washington High School Alumni Association, Nancy McComas Job. We have the former president and Distinguished Citizens Chair, George Helmrich. And we have the founder of the Washington High School Alumni Association Scholarship Committee, Mrs. Marcia Short. And finally, last but not least, you just ask him, he'll tell you. We have the former longtime assistant football coach, faculty member, and building principal, Coach Laverne Butch Hose. The sage of Massillon. Here to present our very first distinguished alumni is Chuck and Johnny Maier.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Maier. I'm a Massillon High School graduate, a former Massillon police officer, and retired security administrator for the Massillon City Schools. Tonight, my brother Johnny and I are honored to serve as co-presenters for our younger brother, Sheriff George Maier. As he receives this very prestigious award. George has had an outstanding career in law enforcement professional. George started as a police officer in Hartville, following then was accepted to the Ohio Highway Patrol Academy. During his time as a trooper, he was recognized by the Ohio Patrol Troopers of the Year. As a Trooper of the Year award ceremony, the Colonel of the Highway Patrol commended George, stating that he represents the core values of the Ohio Highway Patrol. George moved through the ranks of the patrol, serving as a sergeant, lieutenant, staff lieutenant, captain. As captain of the Highway Patrol, he commanded 6 patrol posts and has covered 10 Ohio counties. In 2007, George was appointed by Governor Ted Strickland to the position of Assistant Director of the 4,000-employee Ohio Department of Public Safety. In this position, he provided oversight for the day-to-day operations and management of 8 agencies and divisions, including Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles, Ohio Emergency Management, and Ohio Homeland Security. Following his time with the Ohio Department of Public Safety, George was named to return to Massillon. It wasn't long before he called into service again to accept the mayor's request to serve as Massillon's Safety Service Director. Widely seen as having made a very positive impact, Safety Service Director, he was then called upon to serve as Stark County Sheriff following the untimely death of a newly elected sheriff. George has served our county as sheriff with honor and distinction. I am going to turn this over to my older brother, Johnny, to share George's accomplishment, much older brother, as our sheriff. Johnny is Madison Clerk of Courts and previously represented Madison and Stark County for 5 terms in the Ohio House of Representatives. Johnny Maier.
My brother Chuck talked to you about George's law enforcement career prior to becoming our sheriff. And we grew up in a law enforcement family. Our father was a lieutenant on the Massillon Police Department. He retired. He was appointed chief of police in Dalton. And so in our lifetime, we've seen a lot of law enforcement professionals. And I will tell you, as George's brother, there's no greater law enforcement professional than my brother George. He has a visionary leadership for Stark County, and that's very evident in the fact that he established the first law enforcement training center, which, by the way, is located in Massillon. It's a significant advancement in law enforcement training. In 2022, there were over 13,000 hours of training for law enforcement professionals, not just the Sheriff Department, but all of the departments within Stark County and beyond. Another hallmark of Sheriff Maier's tenure is the innovative Stark Adult Recovery Program, STAR, at the Stark County Jail. This program addresses the critical issue of drug-related and alcohol addiction incarcerations. This program focuses on rehab and successful community reintegration. The STAR program has reduced repeat offenders to the Stark County Jail. That showcases George's commitment to addressing community challenges and effective solutions, in addition to saving taxpayers' dollars. He's also made substantial contributions to school safety in Stark County. He was instrumental in forming the Stark County School Safety and Security Task Force. It's a collaborative effort that regularly brings together members of law enforcement with the education community and school leadership throughout Stark County. He was also directly responsible and involved in the development of the Ohio School Threat Assessment Model. That model has become a training requirement throughout the state of Ohio, which has been endorsed by the Attorney General. Another example is his 6-year pursuit of the Marks radio system. When he became sheriff, there were probably 30 different radio systems at least between law enforcement and first responders throughout Stark County. As of January 2023, more than 3,700 radios are active in Stark County with the Stark Mark system, with all Stark County public safety forces able to utilize Marks daily without interference. His career has been marked by integrity, innovation, unwavering dedication, and professionalism. He learned these values at home, and certainly he learned these values, as we all did, growing up in Massillon, Ohio. Through his various initiatives, he successfully enhanced the safety, welfare, and overall prosperity of Stark County residents. He's been elected as the president of the Buckeye State Sheriff's Association by his peers. He's a recipient of the Mount Union University Ralph Regula Award for Public Service. He lives by the motto, once a tiger, always a tiger. And how many times have we heard that? And I'm going to give you a good example of that. He's been all over the state, especially when he was in the Highway Patrol. And one day he had a traffic stop in Steubenville, Ohio. And he pulled this guy over, and the guy says, "Don't you know who I am?" My brother said, "I'm sorry, I really don't." He goes, "I'm the head coach," true story, of Canton McKinley football team. And my brother said, "What a lucky day for you. I'm a former Massillon football player. How do you think this is going to work out, Coach?" It did work out okay. He threw the flag, and we gave him a penalty. I suppose that was it. I want to congratulate my brother George. I want to congratulate all the distinguished recipients up here. You know, you read their bios, and it's really impressive. And I want to congratulate the committee, because I've been here several times in the past, even though I myself am not a Massillon graduate. I've been here several times in the past, and I've always been extremely impressed at what a great job and a first-class endeavor this is. So congratulations to all of you, and congratulations to all the distinguished alumni here. Thank you, and my brother George Maier, our Stark County Sheriff.
Well, good evening. Chuck, don't deduct my time from my brothers, okay? Well, it's great to be here with you. Dear family, friends, distinguished guests, and fellow distinguished alumni who I've, in the last few days, learned a lot about, and I'm humbled by them, quite frankly. I'm truly humbled to be a recipient of this recognition and to be before you today. But thank you all for being here. I need to take a moment, and Craig and I flipped a coin because we're both class of 78, and I'm not going to tell you who lost, but all the class of 78, stand up. Thank you all for being here. I am going to take a brief moment to meet my family. They take about half this room up, but I'll try to make it quick, okay? First of all, I need to introduce the matriarch of our family, my mother. She's 92 years young, and she's here with us tonight, Rose Maier. Thank you, Mom. I won't make you stand. You won't have to stand. Also, I'm going to start with my lovely wife, Misty, who is my rock and the person that gives me the energy to do what I do each and every day. I have a wonderful family. I'm going to start with my eldest son, George Maier, second, his wife, Jennifer, their two sons, Parker and Lincoln. And I'm going to introduce my son, Johnny, and his girlfriend, Christina. And I went in order so I wouldn't mix them up. So I'm going to go with my youngest son now. It's Michael and his lovely family, Michael, Gianna, Amelia, and Elena. And I will tell you, if I knew grandkids were going to be so much fun, I'd have started with them. Well, I'll tell you how important this is to me. My brothers mentioned I've received a few accolades in my career. I've done a few things. I really attribute that from the work ethic I've got from my family and the community of Massillon. One of the takeaways for me with this group up here is all these recipients are hard workers. They put an effort into everything that they do. Before I go on, I have a little bit of a break in my presentation for something special that I want to share with everybody. I'm going to ask my three sons to come up. If you guys wouldn't mind holding that flag up. This is a special flag. This means a lot to me. This flag, and I have a certificate of authenticity here. This flag was flown in Massillon over the Chase Bank building on November 30th, 2023. Anybody know what happened on November 30th, 2023? Yeah, 25-time state champions, that's right. I had the privilege, the honor and the privilege to be the winning bidder of this flag at the recent Boys Club auction. And I had some son of a gun keep running it up, but it's okay. And I thought, I had the great idea, I'm going to put this in my man cave and enjoy that for the rest of my life. That's not fitting. That's not fitting for this. And I have the certificate right here. I'm going to donate that flag tonight to our Alumni Association to put it in a place of reverence, a place of honor where it can be enjoyed by everybody. And before I go on, I have to talk about the people that work for me each and every day, and there's a few of them here, and they're amazing people. They do amazing things. And that's my staff over here. I'm not going to introduce you, relax. I'm not going to, but you guys, would you stand up and be recognized, my staff. Thank you so much. As I said, it's my honor to be here, but I have to mention Bob Wenzel, Robert Wenzel, who I've known a long, long time, who I believe was the person that nominated me, and thank you, Robert, for that. And everybody knows that Robert gives countless hours to not only the Alumni Association, but to something he loves, and that's our Massillon Tiger Swing Band. I'll start out with this. I love Massillon. I have been so lucky to have had the opportunity to live here in Massillon and go to Washington High School. In my professional life, I have the responsibility, I won't say an opportunity, sometimes it wasn't an opportunity, but the responsibility to travel about the state. My brother told you about a story where I spent 4 years of my life in Spielman, Ohio. It was interesting. But I've had that opportunity, and everywhere I go, I stand a little taller, and I feel a little prouder when I tell folks that I'm from Massillon, Ohio, home of the Tigers. I remember vividly a shirt that we had in high school, and maybe some of my classmates still have it. I don't. I wish I did. And it said very proudly, Massillon Pride Tigers. And I don't know if some of you remember that. Get your yearbooks out, you'll see it. That Pride Tigers is a mantra that is still true today. I grew up a short distance from here on 1st Street, right by St. Mary's School. I really enjoyed living near downtown. It was a blast, and it was a lot of fun because I had a lot of opportunities living so close to town. I had great memories growing up in Massillon, memories growing up walking to school. I never rode the bus. I never rode the bus. Everywhere I went to St. Mary's, then I went to Whittier, then I went to Longfellow, I went to Massillon. I always walked to school. You know what the best thing of walking to school was? I walked right by Lieberman's Bakery. It was great. It was great. I've been on Weight Watchers program since, but it's okay. Used to go skating at the reservoir. Some of you will remember that. If the mayor was here, I'd say get the reservoir back. Hess's Pond, if you were from the northeast side. Yeah, I knew the Winsec girls knew where Hess's Pond was. Sledding, we used to sled in the area, and we used to get together and have a great time. But don't forget the blizzard of '78. I think we were out of school for like 2 weeks, right? We missed school for 2 weeks. But honestly, that was what created, in the Department of Education, the calamity days. Prior to that, you'd miss 1 or 2 days. We were gone for like 2 weeks. It was like spring break in the winter. I would have to deliver papers. I had a couple paper routes, and I'd deliver papers, and I'd fondly recall some of the places that I would deliver papers on my route. I would go to the Buckeye Club. Anybody heard of the Buckeye Club? Yeah. Darlene, you know where the Buckeye Club is. Hal's Sporting Goods. Some of you guys might remember Hal's Sporting Goods. The folks that ran that place were awesome. They lived right up by Whittier School. I would go to their house and talk to them. I'd talk to them when I deliver papers. They were great people. Made a great impact on my life. The Oldsmobile Garage, right over here on Tremont Avenue. Interesting thing, the Oldsmobile Garage is now Tremont Coffee. If you haven't been there, go. It's great, okay? And not to mention my job too much, but recently we had a program over there we call Coffee with a Cop, where we come in and we had coffee. And it was hosted at the Tremont Coffee Shop, so I guess you could say I've come full circle. I tell people about the programs here in Massillon and how great Massillon is in my travels around the state. And I talked about the program where the Booster Club gave the mini footballs to all the newborns. And I still have that football sitting on my shelf at home. It meant a lot to me. They can't believe it. Folks couldn't believe it. While this is a small gesture of a strong symbol of passion, persistence to achieve greatness in Massillon, not only in our football, but certainly in our community as a whole. The community of Massillon is resilient in all we do. We continually strive to accept only the best. Massillon never quits. I believe this persona stays with us throughout our adult life. Like our Tigers, we always are in pursuit of excellence. Kids in Massillon develop a never-quit mentality. I know I did. This mental attitude is still in our schools and in our community today. Coach Moore and his team work tirelessly season after season, going after our 25th state championship title. So many people had written us off and doubted our ability to get there. For many years, people would underestimate us, but we, meaning our school, our coaches, and our community, and most of all, our kids, never quit in their relentless pursuit of victory. Thank you to Coach Moore and our team and our community for never giving up on believing in Massillon. In my life, and certainly in my career, I have faced many difficult challenges. In the career of law enforcement, a law enforcement officer encounters more than 700 critical incidents and tragic situations in their career. That's 200 times greater than the average person. I credit my ability to successfully manage this high level of stress to what I learned right here in Massillon. Never give up, never quit. Massillon High School has credited my success and determination to always strive for greatness through persistence, continuous improvement, and pride in what you do and who you are. After being away from Massillon for 20 years or so off and on, I returned to Massillon with an opportunity to serve as a safety and service director. One task I undertook was the development of the brand for the city. A coworker had pitched a brand and it never really caught on. After some consideration, I considered the City of Champions. I'm proud to say the city has continued to utilize that phrase, and it truly exemplifies the spirit of Massillon. We are and forever will be the City of Champions. Now, I've mentioned a lot about my career and growing up in Massillon, motivation to doing things, and how Washington High School and the city of Massillon has impacted me, my determination and the persistence instilled in me through the years at WHS. I need to take a moment to mention a few people that helped me along the way. I'm not ashamed to tell you that my sixth grade principal, Mr. Robert Haas, gave me my first school paddling. Now, I said first, so you can do the math to determine if there were others. Mr. Haas was a person I came to have great admiration for and respect. He taught me valuable lessons through his impeccable leadership and storied military career, and yes, I deserve that discipline. I promise you it never happened again. Well, at least not from him. A great man and friend was Ron Green. Ron Green was my freshman football coach. I liked basketball. I didn't have the ability to play basketball, so he let me hang around after school every day with the basketball team and do whatever needed to be done. And I will tell you, thinking back, that probably kept me out of trouble. And so I really appreciate Ron Green being in my life. My English teacher, Mrs. Gaston, she was truly a trusted adult in my life. I would go to her home and help clean her sidewalks when it would snow. And I remember, and Brian Stuck, you probably remember this. I remember a group of us went to her house one evening around Christmas and sang Christmas carols to her. And I really thought that meant too much. We were just a bunch of kids just doing some stupid stuff, right? But I was preparing for my comments today, and I was looking through my yearbook. And she had signed in my yearbook. And it really choked me up because her comment was, I really appreciated those Christmas carols and wave when you go by. So not only did she have an impact on us, I think we had an impact on her. Other people that impacted my life, Ron Hammer, Jake Manley, and others. And I have to mention Coach Hose. He lived on Ohio Street when he was a brand new teacher and coach. and it was practically in my backyard. I recall one time having a disagreement with one of my neighbors when I was a youngster. And the disagreement might have been more like a fight, okay? And we ended up maybe in his front yard. And Coach Host, and he came out, and of course I'm gonna call you by your nickname, Butch. Butch come out and he put his arms like this, he's watching us. Pretty soon my brother Chuck shows up. He puts his arm like this and he's watching us. And I think I'm getting my butt kicked, okay? Can somebody break this up? No. And my brother John, he shows up and he takes over. Don't nobody break this up, okay? And I'm thinking, I'm getting my butt kicked, okay? Turns out that young lad that I had that disagreement with became one of my best friends. And you guys taught me a lot that day about friendship and, disagreements, and I learned a lot. Thank you. I need to mention a dear friend, Eddie and Margaret Elam, dear friends who are certainly like my family. I love you, and thank you for a lifetime of support. To my family, my little sister Veronica, who I always tried to look after, and my brothers Johnny and Chuck, who along with their friends like Ron Pribbage, John Wolf, and many others, made me feel special. They all had nicknames at that time. I don't know why. I didn't have a nickname. They had nicknames. Smoochie, Bronco, Rookie. I couldn't keep them straight. And I don't even know where the Smoochie came from. I don't want to embarrass anyone. I won't say whose nickname was what, okay? But guys, remember the Untouchables? Yeah, I do. Having a younger brother tag along all the time must have been a burden on you guys. But you never left me behind. You always made me feel like I was part of the gang. Thank you. To my wife and my children and my grandchildren, I love you. You are my life, and you give me energy every day to do what I do. To my parents who I've been blessed to have, who have loved me and are proud of me for what I've accomplished. I grew up not having much, but I really never knew it. Thanks, Mom. To my dad, who I know is looking down on me at this moment, you are always a shining example to me of what integrity really is. You are a mentor of leadership and hard work and compassion that still lives within me today. Rarely a day goes by that I do not think of you with the faith and vision of being with you again someday. Everything I have or ever will have, I offer up to God, who is always with me in good and in bad times, and who has never failed to guide me in life. I want to thank you, and God bless each one of you for this distinguished honor, and have a good night.
For our next presentation, Pastor Noah Schumacher.
Good evening. Again, my name is Noah Schumacher. I want to say thank you to everybody for being here, the honorees. This is amazing to be in your company, to read the bios. It's exciting. I'm a Christian. I'm a pastor at a church in North Canton called Compassion Church. And before I say this next part, I ask for your grace and your mercy, and I might need Sheriff Maier to escort me in my car after I say this. You see, I was born and raised to be a McKinley Bulldog fan. It gets better. I promise it gets better, okay? And so growing up, I don't know if you should escort me, actually, after hearing the story. Red and black were the colors that I always grew up, rooting for. Then walking in and seeing the orange, and then having the orange boutonniere, I couldn't believe it. But I will say this, my dad was the one who always, raised me to be a McKinley fan, and I didn't even go to McKinley. I went to Mogador, which people actually call Mini Massillon. I noticed a few years back, my dad stopped going to a lot of McKinley football games. And this was about 3 years ago. And I said, Dad, I've noticed you're not going to the McKinley games like you used to. What's happening now? And what I did notice was that he was going to all the Massillon football games. So I said, what gives? You raised me and my brother to To be McKinley fans, we went to the 100th anniversary game. We were there 97, 98, and we painted our faces. I had a bulldog on my face. I didn't know why, you know. I grew up with this. And he said, son, I'm going to tell you something. This is 3 years ago. He said, I've gone to the dark side. And he said, I've seen the light. And I can't root for McKinley anymore. I'm a Massillon fan. And, yeah. So he was going to be here tonight. He knows Craig very well. And he was messaging me on my phone, all these things, saying, tell them that I love them. Tell them I'm a Massillon fan now. So there, I did it. I'm a good son. So here we go. Again, I'm honored to be here to welcome Craig and just to honor him. He's an amazing man of God, a man I respect very much. Whenever I travel with others and get to share, or when they actually mention scholars that they appreciate, I always mention Craig and that I know him and that, you know, he's Stark County and from Massillon. And so it's always an excitement to get to share that I know him personally, just as an amazing scholar, friend, and man that he is. On the plaque, it reads a lot of distinguishments that Craig has achieved. Graduate with a PhD from Duke University, currently teaching PhD students at Asbury Seminary in Kentucky. To his name, he has 35 books published, totaling 19,000 pages, and over 1.4 million copies in circulation, plus more than 100 articles. And these are not just domestic, mind you. These are, international. Many of his books have been published in different languages as well. His longest book, which I actually have, cites 45,000 references from ancient sources. At times when my arms need a workout, I pick up his commentary on the book of Acts from the Bible and just curl it, and that's all you need. I promise you. I mean, it's 4 volumes. It's an amazing work of accomplishment that Craig has done. His books have won 13 national or international awards, including 6 in the nationwide publication Christianity Today. And, I could go on and on about Craig's accomplishments. I could go on and on about the things he has done, things he has written about, the places he has spoken around the world. But what's so amazing is that all the amazing things he has done in Christian leadership and scholarship, that is not what defines Craig. I could go on and on about his amazing wife and family, but again, that is not what defines Craig. And I encourage you to learn more about his amazing story and his wife. Pick up the book that is here free. It is an amazing book that will inspire you and challenge you. Find time to read it. It is a gift, and I'm so thankful that I got to read it. But again, that's not what defines Craig. The exemplary character and love and passion to serve others that he exudes in his life, it comes from his identity and what truly defines him, which is him being an individual who takes his faith seriously. When all is said and done about Craig, it is very clear that he is nothing other than a radical follower of Jesus Christ, a man who unashamedly loves God and people to the best of his ability. It is an honor to introduce Craig tonight, and while he will be quick to remind all of us of his shortcomings and imperfections, I will say with confidence, he is one of the few people in my life that I have met who exemplifies what it means to love Jesus Christ and to love people with every breath that you have, and that's Craig. My father, again, who cannot be here tonight, he's actually getting ready to have a refugee family come to the house at our church where we're at, which we blame Craig because he's taught us so well with his books to love people well. He's excited to be there, but he wanted to be here as well, and he wanted me to give his love to you. Craig and my dad go way back, as my dad was somebody who early on shared the gospel with Craig in the 70s, which wasn't that long ago, we'll say, okay? But he sends his love as well. Lastly, while he has always shared his words for his appreciation for Massillon, for this area, for his story, I can say with confidence that if all the people around the world, truly around the world, not just the USA, were to try to put words together to show their appreciation for what you have done for us in the Christian community, as leaders, as pastors, as scholars, we wouldn't know how to communicate rightly what you mean to us. You are a blessing, you are a gift to the body of Christ, and more than anything, you are a great example of what it means to live like Jesus. We love you, Craig. We thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, Craig Keener.
Now I'm too nervous to speak. No. But I do want to say, is it this one or this one? Anyway, I do want to say, George, that Mr. Haas spanked me too. I'm grateful to the committee and to my hometown for this award, and to Noah for introducing me. I'm grateful to all who facilitated this award. I'm grateful to my fellow honorees this year. Your bios, and even more than that, what you've shared and the occasions I've heard from you earlier just are so meaningful. And these are people with amazing accomplishments, and yet they're so gracious when you get to know them, as you can also tell from some of the stories that they share. But as one of the members of the class of 78 put on Facebook when they announced that 2 of us from 78 were distinguished citizens, he said, "I thought we were all distinguished citizens." That's true. We're each distinguished, sometimes in different ways, but we each have something important to contribute. My family has deep roots in this community. My grandfather, Chet Cooper, he was a builder. He built a lot of houses in the Northeast. He actually, my family grew up on Janus Street, which was named after my aunt by my grandfather, and my grandparents lived on Gale Avenue, which was named after my mom by my grandfather. And he built the Amherst Park Shopping Center and owned that for some time until he sold it. My father owned Keener Men's Shop, and my mom is an artist who's had things in the Massillon Museum. So our family has a real history in this community. Now, as for me, I liked school so much that I stayed in academia, and that means that, if you count my teaching years as well as my attending years, I'm now in 57th grade. I have to be careful where I say that, though, because it can traumatize small children. I'm also happy that this meeting is at St. George's because it's close to the high school where it was back when I attended. And a lot of the things that I did back then, I didn't go skating on the reservoir. I didn't do a lot of the things other people do. I'm just an introvert, so I spent time in the library and visited the medical lab in the hospital, which I kept visiting a lot, and I was learning a lot until one day they wheeled a dead body past me, and I was like, I don't know, I think I was like 14. I said, no, I'm not coming again. But I mentioned some of the teachers that I studied with yesterday in the meetings there. I don't want to say the same thing quite in every session because it'll sound too much like a rerun, but some of the things I'll be saying again. But I was a journalism major all 3 years. I worked in the Washington High-Times, and of course that training has really come in handy in writing books. I'm ADHD, so it was really good for me to get training. And 2 of my editors from the High-Times are here. Bill Roseman, who I hear pushed my case, and yes, and also Joan Wenzel. So thank you both for being you were my first editors. Before I ever wrote any books, I was also the mock turtle in Alice in Wonderland. So I just had to look very sad. Even though I have a PhD, and for the last decade I've been teaching PhD students, I have this recurrent nightmare in which my earlier records got lost. And I told you I like school, but in the nightmares I have to go back and repeat elementary school. But you're all my witnesses now. I did graduate, which is a wonder. But anyway, but whenever I tell people in this region that I'm from Massillon, they say, "Oh, the football town!" And then they look at me and they say, "No thanks to you." I did run track. I even won one race in junior varsity shortly after twisting my ankle, and that was purely by God's grace. Sports isn't too controversial, as everyone Everyone knows the Tiger's Rock. Even your father was eventually convinced. But religion and politics tend to generate more controversy. My only political comment is that George Maier is the coolest sheriff. As to religion, it's important to what I do now, so I wouldn't be doing what I do now if it weren't for that. But there are nice religious people, there are mean religious people, there are nice atheists, there are mean atheists. I was one of the mean atheists. I used to make fun of Christians, and actually George and I were talking. He remembers me well, you didn't say you remembered me being mean, but you did remember when I was not friendly towards religion. But I used to make fun of Christians who tried to share their faith with me. I even disqualified myself in a spelling bee at Longfellow Junior High School by misspelling religious, but that was not on purpose. But reading Plato at age 13 raised questions for me about life after death. I wasn't persuaded that Plato answered them well, but the questions sure seemed like good ones. And a couple years later, when I was walking home from high school one day, actually, it was a couple people, they shared with me that Jesus died for my sins and rose again, and that could make me right with God. And they were telling me this from the Bible, and finally I said, look, you guys, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in God. So, why are you trying to persuade me of this? And I walked away, but after all the way home, I'd studied different religions, I'd studied different philosophies, but as I was walking home, I was feeling something like I'd never felt before. I got home, I got to my room, and I was so overwhelmed with the presence of God. There was no way I could be an atheist or an intelligent atheist with God in the room with me. And I said, okay, God, I don't understand how Jesus dying for me and rising from the dead can make me right with you. But if that's what you say, I'll believe it. But God, I don't know how to be made right with you, so if you want to do it, I need you to do it yourself. And all this, and again, I know this is not, different people are different, so I'm not saying this is like normal, but anyway, all of a sudden I felt something rushing through my body like I'd never felt before. I jumped up, scared out of my mind. I said, I don't know what just happened, but I'd always said one of the reasons I didn't believe in God, and this wasn't a good reason it wasn't God's fault, but I said, back then, 80% of the people in this country claimed to be Christian, but I couldn't tell by how most of them were living that it was making a difference in their lives. I was like, if I really believed there was a God, I would give God everything. And I said, okay, God, now I believe in you. I'm going to give you everything. And so, but I didn't actually, I knew like two things about Christianity. One was they believed in the Trinity and they believed in gargoyles. I didn't know very much. So I started cramming to catch up with the little kids in Sunday school who at least knew Bible stories. I didn't know anything. I didn't understand at that point how Jesus' death and resurrection would make me right with God, but it changed my whole life. So besides cramming to catch up, and by the way, when I said I thought like nobody was living holy for God, it was wrong, but I'd kind of like averaged everybody out with the people who just, they went to church maybe twice a year or whatever, or didn't go at all and claimed to be Christian. I was kind of averaging them out with the people who were really serious about it. But anyway, different ministers in town became mentors to me. Donald Stanley at First Assembly took me on hospital visitation with him sometimes. William Dunn at First Baptist helped supply me with Bibles when I shared my faith with others. Alan Ute at St. John's UCC helped me with my skeptical questions. At High Mill, Chuck Schumacher, who was then age 28, helped me recognize that my generation, in our teens and early 20s, we weren't too young to make a difference. And actually, I've learned since then that if Jesus' disciples were the average age of disciples in antiquity, they were probably teenagers. So, or at least a lot of them would have been teenagers. So we weren't too young. And I also learned at High Mill, by the way, Chuck Schumacher is Noah's dad. I also learned there that you can wear shorts to church. Although I connected with Bob Lewis at St. James AME Zion Church later, he became one of the first friends I'd visit when I returned to Massillon. Now, coming originally from outside of the faith, it looked to me like Christians all had more in common with each other than any of them had with my former atheism. But at my home church, we often would raise our hands in worship, and on the way to high school in the mornings, I sometimes stopped in at the morning mass at St. Mary's, enjoying the reverent worship. Well, one day, Father Perillo sent somebody to stop me until he could change out of his garments, and he came to me and asked me if I was a member. And I was afraid that he'd noticed that I didn't come forward during the Mass, and he was going to tell me not to come anymore. But he told me he'd seen me lifting my hands, and then I knew I was really in trouble. But he said, no, that's good. And so he started taking me with him to some charismatic Catholic retreats and so on. So my scholarly work explores the mysteries and the details. My largest book includes 45,000 references from ancient works outside the Bible to try to provide cultural background for more clearly understanding that book of the Bible. And my other books are like that, but shorter. But the more I learn, the more it brings me back to the heart of my faith. A God who showed his love for us, giving his own dear Son, giving his own heart to make us his own, if we're willing. Not all kinds of success are guaranteed. And I'm going to skip some of this stuff because it would sound too much like a rerun if any of you heard the earlier speeches. But there's a kind of success that you can guarantee, and that's by becoming the kind of person that you would respect, a person of integrity. Some people take shortcuts by cheating, and it catches up with them. But living in an honorable way is itself a great success. On average, the harder you work now, including in academic, vocational, and physical self-discipline, some of us are getting kind of old for this, but we still try. The easier you work, your work will be later. Life is too short to live just for the moment. Still, realistically, life can be really hard. My wife, Maydeen, would you stand? She's going to get me back for this later. We met at Duke, where I was doing my PhD. She was doing hers at University of Paris 7, but she came as an exchange student. But after we were at Duke together, she went back, she finished her PhD, she returned to Congo, where she's from, and she became a refugee for 18 months during civil war there. And sometimes she would travel 10 miles a day through snake-infested swamps and fields of army ants to get food for her family. Meanwhile, I was praying frantically for her safety. I didn't know if she was alive or dead, because the last message I got from her said, "Please pray for me. My cousin was just shot dead. My father and my brother were nearly shot dead, and the mercenary troops are closing in on our town with orders to kill the educated people first." And so for 18 months, I didn't know if she was alive or dead. We'd both been really shy, and that's why we hadn't gotten together earlier, because it had taken us a few years to tell each other how much we liked each other. But anyway, I won't spoil the suspense. You'll have to read the book to find out if we survived. And if we got married. But there are free copies of the book there if you'd like them. I'm not a good speaker. I'm a much better writer. So the book is by both of us, though. It's based on her journal that she kept during the war and my journal as well. I do need to warn you, though, it's a real-life story, so it does include war and faith and romance and a lot of hardship. But I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
Our next presenter, Lindsay Miller-Deemer.
Good evening, everyone. It is my honor to present Kevin Miller as a distinguished citizen of Massillon this evening. I'm Lindsay Miller-Deemer, Kevin's younger sister. I'm here to tell you things that are not on Kevin's resume of super cool accomplishments and accolades. I'm here to tell you the behind-the-scenes story, if you will. So tonight, I just want to highlight 3 key qualities about Kevin that I attribute to his success. For those of us outside of show business and entertainment, it has become the norm to hear stories about people getting their positions and having success because of connections or nepotism or doing shady or perhaps illegal things to get favoritism or get ahead in a competitive business. Though there's no doubt that those things exist, unfortunately, this could not be further from the truth for Kevin's success. Kevin has built his amazing career on his own by being kind, being a good person, doing the right thing, and relying on his faith, which takes me to my first key quality. Kevin has always been dedicated to pursuing his career goals. Kevin once said that he wanted to be the next Jay Leno. And no offense to his dream or to Jay Leno, but I think being a supervising producer on Late Night with Seth Meyers is getting pretty close, and Kevin's career is nowhere close to being done. Also, Kevin is way funnier and more entertaining than Jay Leno. I'm not biased or anything. Kevin always pursued and continues to pursue his dreams and aspirations. He started college at the University of Toledo, a school he loved, then transferred to Ohio University to pursue a better communications program. He landed a coveted internship on the Today Show, and then an even more coveted spot at the NBC's Page program. He moved to New York and lived at the YMCA without knowing a soul, then to Hoboken, then to Manhattan. He has built his network from the ground up. He didn't do things by trying to get ahead or cutting people down. He did it by genuine hard work, kindness, and integrity. He was kind to people, got to know people, and is known to everyone as a good guy who can always make you laugh. It's no wonder that Seth Meyers asked Kevin personally to join his show in 2014 from SNL. Now, 10 years later, it's my honor to see Kevin continue to grow even today. This winter, he pitched writing ideas that have shown up on TV, and most recently, he is the lead producer on the Lonely Island and Seth Meyers podcast, which just launched. It's already the 3rd most listened to podcast this week and has a 4.9 star rating. And what kind of sister would I be if I didn't ask everyone to take a listen, and if you find it in your heart, maybe give it a 5-star rating and subscribe. Another key quality about Kevin is that he has always been dedicated to his family. When Kevin was old enough to drive, he took our grandmother to church and gabbed with her friends at Daco's downtown Massillon afterwards. He was obviously her favorite, and our grandmother made sure that the rest of us, meaning the rest of the 3 siblings, knew that. Even after moving to New York, he came to my big events, but even minor events like my 8th grade spelling bee and all of my musicals. Also, as a side note, I've come to learn as an adult that many of my friends had crushes on him, and so they enjoyed seeing him too, and some of them probably still do. I've often said that I'm super fortunate because I've gotten to watch all 3 of my brothers become the best fathers I've ever seen in their own right. Each of my brothers is a tremendous father and has always prioritized their families throughout their successful careers, and Kevin is no exception. From day one, Kevin and his daughter, Maddie, had a very special bond. From a young age, they were putting on skits, plays, dances, and musical numbers that still continue today. They build forts, super difficult Legos, make up their own games, put on shows, do artwork, write and tell jokes. Kevin coaches her softball team, you name it, they do it. They're inseparable, and that's not by accident. The final key quality about Kevin is that he always had the desire to positively impact others. Even though I did not have the pleasure of going to school with Kevin, being 11 years apart, I have vivid memories of Kevin always being well-liked by his peers and making people happy. I distinctly remember my parents hosting a cast party after one of his musicals, and dozens of Kevin's friends attended. I remember Kevin doing impressions and silly voices to make his friends and family laugh. Ever since I can remember, Kevin always tried to make people feel good about themselves, smile, and laugh, and always succeeded. He even does stand-up comedy from time to time and is open for famous comedians. Looking back, it's pretty easy to see how Kevin attained an awesome career in comedy television and received this well-deserved award as a distinguished citizen of Massillon. Kevin truly is a gem of Massillon, and I know he will continue to make the city proud. Kevin Miller.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Good evening. It's truly a delight and honor to be here tonight. I'd like to thank the Alumni Association, Scholarship, and Distinguished Citizen Committees. I'd also like to thank Dave Lautenschlager, Darlene Kiefer, and a special thank you to Chuck Richards for his tireless organizational efforts and for making me feel so welcome back in Massillon. It's been a pleasure getting to know George and Craig, class of 78, and Rick, class of 82, and I'm, of course, class of 95. But together, it sounds like we're a soft rock variety station playing our hits from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. When I received the call from Principal Lautenschlager that I'd been nominated for this award, I saw a 330 area code followed by a number that I didn't recognize on my phone. I answered and heard a voice say, "Can I speak with Kevin Miller? This is the principal of Washington High School." It's funny how, even 30 years later, how quickly my stomach dropped and my immediate thought was, oh no, what did I do? What did they find? And what's the statute of limitations on getting in trouble in high school? I also have to thank former superintendent, distinguished citizen, and Massillon legend, Al Paris, for being here tonight and for nominating for me for this honor. Thank you, Mr. Paris. And I definitely wouldn't be here without the unconditional love and support of my parents, Gary and Linda Miller, who I'm so grateful are here tonight. They were both incredibly active in the Massillon City Schools. My mom is a graduate of the class of 1964, and after getting her degree from Otterbein University, she returned to Massillon and spent 25 plus years teaching at Emerson Whittier in the middle school. And although my dad, Gary, didn't technically attend Massillon, he went to Canton Lincoln, but after graduating with a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Cincinnati, he balanced a demanding career at Goodyear while serving on the Massillon School Board of Education for over 30 years and played an integral role in the construction of the new high school. My mother and father set quite the example for me to try to be of service to others, and I feel very blessed to have them here. Also here are my three siblings, Gary, Mark, and Lindsay, all Washington High School grads as well. And I'm so lucky to have you guys here tonight because there's something I've thought about every day since we were kids that I can finally tell you what I've thought for years, but could never quite know how to put it into words. Guys, I love that there's now concrete proof that I'm a little more distinguished than you guys are. I mean, I have a plaque to prove it, you know. By the way, Gary's a high school principal with his master's, Mark's a doctor, Lindsay's a lawyer, I'm just a communications major from Ohio University, so I'd better stop now before somebody realizes the wrong Miller is up here. And thank you to my 11-year-old daughter, Maddie. You inspire me every day, and I love your heart and your mind, and you're just the highlight of my life. My entire family is my source of strength and stability and encouragement. Thank you for always believing in me. I love you all very much. Being here is a bit of a full circle moment because I remember coming to see Washington High School grad David Canary, who was a soap opera star on All My Children, in a concert called What You'd Call a Dream. As he spoke, I thought, wow, someone from Massillon figured out how to get on television. I went backstage and he gave me a note and it said, if you ever get to New York, call my agent. And I'll always remember that. And when I reflect on growing up here, there's been a constant theme that whenever I reach out for help, someone is willing to extend a hand to help guide and lift me up. I graduated in 1995 and attended the University of Toledo. I started as a major in pre-dentistry because I had braces for 8 years. But my grades in biology and organic chemistry class had me reassess the situation. So after some honesty with myself and a big old D in biology, I finally admitted that I wanted to pursue a career in television, but didn't quite know how. So I ended up transferring to Ohio University, which had a pretty good communications and television journalism program. It was a tough decision for me at the time, but I realized I had a dream to pursue this other career in entertainment, the sparks of which had been lit performing on stage at Washington High School. I landed a coveted internship at NBC's Today Show through my network at Ohio University, and I finally had my foot in the door. When I arrived, I loved being in New York City and NBC. I had access to all these things that I'd only seen on television. And as I was working in the same building as some of my favorite comedy shows, including Late Night with Conan O'Brien and Saturday Night Live, I remember I'd just sit and watch the Saturday Night Live rehearsals, fascinated by all that was going on behind the scenes, watching the sets being built, writers make changes to scripts, cast reading lines on cue cards, and the director showing the host where to go. Months later, upon graduation, I found my way back to New York again. I took a risk and passed up a permanent job offer at the Today Show where I'd been an intern and followed my gut. And after several rounds of interviews, I earned a spot in the NBC Page program, which is an entry-level, one-year program where you start by giving tours of NBC studios, seating audiences for shows like Conan, The Rosie O'Donnell Show, and Saturday Night Live, all while wearing a navy blue polyester blazer and a peacock tie. Despite the painful uniform, it seemed worth the price of entry to explore other opportunities throughout NBC. I worked on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, at Dateline, and eventually won a highly competitive assignment at Saturday Night Live. And although I was doing menial tasks like running errands, taking food and coffee orders, and delivering scripts, I had access to all the people that worked there to ask questions and to see firsthand how the show comes together. It was also the first time that I had heard about the importance of relationships in a business and tried to do everything with a smile on my face and a positive attitude. Be kind, work hard, stay humble, even if I was picking up 2 crispy chicken sandwiches and biggie fries at Wendy's for Christina Aguilera, or getting a 12-egg omelet for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from Star Cafe. When I wasn't giving tours or going on Wendy's runs, I'd been trying to do stand-up comedy at night with a couple friends, and although the jokes were not very good, the experience was invaluable. This was something I'd only thought about at Washington High School, but here I was finally doing it. I ended up finishing the Page program and had a short stint working at Comedy Central on the show Insomniac with Dave Attell, only to return to Saturday Night Live a couple months later as the writer's assistant when the job opened up. A chance to work with comedy writers and be in the same room when they're coming up with ideas for the iconic comedy show sounded right up my alley, and it was. If I told the 15-year-old version of myself that this is what I'd be doing a few years later, I probably wouldn't have believed it. So I was excited to be back at NBC, even though I was barely scraping by making minimum wage, but suddenly I was in the center of this creative process at a show that I used to watch and quote with friends in my parents' basement, listening to Adam Sandler CDs, or in the bleachers in the student section at Tiger Stadium. I tried to keep my head down and focus on doing the best job I could do, whether it was getting coffee for Will Ferrell and Tracy Morgan, or running scripts to Justin Timberlake, or researching facts about the Kardashians for writers working on a sketch. I focused on getting the small details right. Eventually, as I kept working my way up the ladder, I was given more responsibility and graduated from getting the coffee to receiving the coffee. Finally collaborating, helping execute the production of ideas of the very people I so admired. I tried to take advantage of being in the room, and sometimes staff members were given the go-ahead to pitch jokes. It was exhilarating when, after countless attempts, I submitted a couple jokes that ended up getting on the air for a little segment called Weekend Update with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. One of my most memorable experiences I had was being asked to play a writer in the background for a few scenes of a pilot being created around that time by Tina Fey. It was eventually called 30 Rock and aired on NBC for 7 seasons and won a slew of Emmys. And even though I was only in the background of a couple episodes in the first season, it was a thrill to be on set, and I even got to deliver a line of dialogue. By the way, her husband, who's a wonderful producer, director, and musician, is from Ohio, so maybe that Buckeye connection had something to do with it. Throughout my 14 seasons at Saturday Night Live, I got the opportunity to meet, work with, and learn from some of the smartest, funniest, kindest people in comedy, including Kenan Thompson, Seth Meyers, Bill Hader, Andy Samberg, Jason Sudeikis, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and Will Forte, as well as countless talented writers and producers. And sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, as was the case with how I transitioned from SNL to my current role at late night. Back in 2013, there was a shakeup in the world of late night TV, which featured the shifting of Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, and Jimmy Fallon. Jay Leno retired, Jimmy Fallon moved from 12:30 to 11:30, and Seth, who I'd worked with at Saturday Night Live for close to 12 years, got the call from SNL boss Lorne Michaels, who was now overseeing all of late night programming on NBC, that he would be chosen to take over hosting late night, launching a new iteration of the franchise, which I was thrilled to be a part of when Seth asked me to join the team. Since then, I've had the pleasure of working as a supervising producer and being in the center of pop culture and current events on a daily basis. Having the opportunity to contribute to late night by talking to interesting people, including celebrities and newsmakers, is a dream come true of mine. In addition to the show, I've also been working on a new podcast with Seth and Andy Samberg about their time at Saturday Night Live called The Lonely Island and Seth Meyers Podcast, which just debuted next week. I'm so grateful that I get to work at a show where the goal is to entertain, make people think, and bring joy every day. And looking back, that was more often my goal than not when walking the halls of Washington High School. I remember constantly trying to score some laughs, mostly with bad impressions of teachers and coaches. I have such fond memories of all of my teachers. Most of my teachers. I have fond memories of most of my teachers. I have fond memories of some of my teachers, a few of my teachers. No, I'm kidding, of course. They were all wonderful, and although most are retired, several educators had a profound impact on my life, including Claudette Eisnick, who is here tonight, Joan Pratt, Bobby Molbach, Paula Morgan, coaches Jack Rose, Steve Studer, and Joe Studer, Madame Sturgiadis, who would always say soyez sage, which meant be wise, and of course, Lauren Weigel, who helped shape the creative part of me. Although my career seems like it's been a series of being in the right place at the right time, it's actually the combination of the skill sets and values that I learned while growing up here in Massillon. When to work hard, when to speak up, when to take risks, and when to keep pushing forward. These are all the things that I attribute to being the person I am today. And I'm so grateful for being with you all tonight. Thank you so much for this wonderful honor and for letting me speak. Thank you.
Our final presentation of the evening, here is Michelle Spielman.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be introducing my husband, Rick, this evening. I could read a list of many accomplishments and jobs that he has held over the past 30 years in the NFL. But I'm going to keep this short and share with you the last day in the league with the Minnesota Vikings. Strange as that might seem, it's one of those days that I believe shed light on the kind of man that he is. Rick went to work knowing he would be fired that morning along with the head coach. It was the Monday following the last day of the season. After he was let go, a staffer came into his office and said, "The head coach has just left the building, and they had no one to run the end of the year meeting." And Rick looked up and he said, "I'll run it." Rick said he saw it as an opportunity to thank everyone he had worked for over the past 17 years, worked with, and say goodbye to the many players who fought to win each and every weekend with the Minnesota Vikings. I can only imagine the courage it took to do that. But that's Rick Spielman giving everything he had when I know it had been a heart-wrenching morning for him. The owners may have taken away his job, but not the team that day. Rick also never forgot what it means to be part of a team or to lead a team. I know he thought he'd be home early that morning, he even told me that. But in Rick fashion, he stayed well past dinner to say goodbye and reminisce with the staff in the building. In fact, I called him later in the afternoon and I said, "Please tell me you have not chained yourself to the desk. Because if you have, I'm coming with bolt cutters." We laughed, and he said, "I'm good." And I never doubted that for a minute. To the man who has kept the keys to my heart for more than 37 years, and the guy who will now hold keys to Maslin, Rick and Maslin are cut from the same cloth. May I present my husband, Rick Spielman.
Sorry, I'm the emotional Spielman. So, thanks, honey. I didn't know. That was really nice. Oh boy. Yeah, we just so you know, we retired down in Sanibel. I am doing a lot of side jobs, as she likes to call them. Probably more busy than I was when I was in the front office of the NFL. But first of all, just want to thank the committee and everybody who ever had a chance to get me inducted into this distinguished group. And with my colleagues up here, or I like to call them teammates, it's an incredible honor to sit and listen to all their stories, and very humbling, to be honest with you. The people that are most important in my life, my parents, Sonny, who was a coach here, a teacher here, God rest his soul, but was a guiding light for me and my brother. My mom, Nancy, who actually, we retired down in Sanibel, lives with us in Sanibel, Florida. My brother, Chris, who you all know, and probably not only my brother, but my closest friend in the world. And very blessed to have every one of them in my life. But to be honest with you, the most important person in my life is that young lady that just came up here and introduced me. Being together for 37 years and everything that she has to have to endure every Sunday, and everybody thinks, boy, what a glamorous job. But to feel the wins, but to also feel the losses and feel that agony. And when I come home and to know that she's going to be by my side, and no matter what we have to go through in life, I found a life partner, more than just a wife, my best friend, to be by my side through all these endeavors that we've had over the last 37 years. We've been through a lot. I got an opportunity to meet some of my classmates over there at table 20, and a lot of them live in Florida like I do. It seems like the place if you were a graduate in 1982, I'm sure you're down in Florida right now, retired. We bought our retirement home on Sanibel Island, and 3, 4, 5 months after we bought the home, we got wiped out by a hurricane. Lost everything we had. Material things can be replaced, but the memorabilia, the pictures of our kids, that is all gone. But I am proud to say that the owners that I've worked through in the NFL, the Wolf family, who I worked for 17 years in Minnesota, unbeknownst to me, there was a giant box in front of my door one morning. And everything that we lost in the storm, they replicated and replaced. So, which tells you, you don't think that you have influence on people's lives, but that told me that I must have done good for them for that 17 years, for them to take the time to replace everything that we lost. We've been through, like I said, a lot of things down on Sanibel, and Hun, I got to warn you, I want to share this story. So.
I didn't tell him what I was saying, so I guess it's only fair.
We'll talk about it later after the show. So my wife called me maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'm traveling a lot, doing some media and some other things. And, just got through the devastation of the hurricane. And she calls me and tells me that now, down on the Gulf side, which we live in Sanibel, that there was a shark attack. And I was like, oh God, not this now. Now we got like sharks coming around. And she was pretty upset. And I told her, hon, don't worry, just tell me what happened. And she said that this guy was out there swimming in the Gulf, and the shark attacked the whole left side of his body, totally gone. And I looked at her, and didn't look at her, I was on the phone. I called her and I says, don't worry, honey, he'll be all right. Get it? Okay. Can I get a job with you? I've got some free time. Okay, that's enough of the bad dad jokes, although I got 1,000 more if you want to keep me going.
Freebie one too.
Huh?
Freebie one.
This fall, I got the call, and I was devastated, we shouldn't say devastated, just overwhelmed with the news that I was going into the Wall of Champions. And I had an opportunity to come up during the fall, and I haven't been here over 20 years since I came to Steve Studer's funeral, and before that, 20 more years ago. So I've been to Massillon twice in 40 years. And spending the last 3 days here, I didn't know what to expect, but that's my fault. And I apologize to everybody in this room, because Massillon only does things one way. And the one way they do it, it's either 100% in to celebrate what we're celebrating tonight, or we're not going to do it at all. And Chuck and everybody that's involved in this, I can't tell you how overwhelming it is when you're a recipient up here and get an opportunity to experience everything that we've experienced over the past 3 days. But people that had the biggest influence probably in my time here in Massillon, besides my family, Steve Studer, who took me and my brother Chris under his wing and wanted to start training us, and we asked him where we're going to go, and he goes, meet me at Cooney's Bar. And I'm like, Stu, we're only like 16 and 15. I said, oh, don't worry, it's Massillon. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. So we go to the bar, and we're getting ready to walk in, and Stu pops out of the side of the building. We go down. He goes, no, your guys' arses are going down here with me. And we went down into the basement of Cooney's Bar, and that's where the torture chamber was that Stu started. It was a lifting club. And what we learned down there, not only the work, the dedication it takes to be the best you can be physically, but how you can push your body beyond what you think you can. And because he took the time to teach us that, I think that I give him a lot of credit for that success. Coach Walderhouse, Dale Walderhouse, and the influence he had on me. I remember in 1980, I was a backup quarterback here, played a little bit during the varsity, and then all of a sudden, we play McKinley, and we get our arses beat here at Massillon. But they had expanded the playoffs, so we got a second opportunity to go to Canton the next week and play them. And Coach Hose, I don't know if you had anything to do with this or not, but I got a call. My dad came home, said, son, they're moving you to linebacker. And I had an opportunity to know that I was going to start that second game against McKinley. And that week, Coach Walderhouse asked me to come over to his house every night, and I sat there and watched tape with him and watched it over and over again for 5 straight nights, knowing that we were going to get another opportunity and knowing I'm going to get a chance to get on the map and maybe make a couple plays to help us that night go beat McKinley. And little did I know, when you reflect back on your life, that's what I ended up doing for a living for 30-some years. It all started in Coach Walderhouse's basement. And that's the year that we end up going down to Nippert Stadium and end up losing the state championship game to the Cincinnati Moeller. That's the only claim to fame I had that game, was that I was on the front paper with 2 broken thumbs like this. If you have to go to the bathroom with 2 broken thumbs, I'll tell you, it is a challenge. And the last person that really influenced me as I sat here and thought about this was George Protis, who was an industrial arts teacher, ended up building some houses here. And my dad said, "Hey, son, I got you a job." I said, "Great, am I going to be an intern and doing something on the business side?" "No," he says, "your ass is going to go out there and do manual labor for George Protis." So he goes, I go, "Okay, where do I go up?" He goes, 9 o'clock Monday morning, go meet George at Cooney's. And I was like, I didn't realize till I came here this weekend how important Cooney's was in my life, and I never had a drink in the damn place. So, but when you reflect back on everything, faith is very important to me and my wife, and you don't know what path life is going to take you down, but it's going to be a path. And you can't control that path, but you can control how you handle the adversity down that path and how you handle the wins down that path. If I had sat here and told you when I was in high school that I was going to be a distinguished citizen, I would have said you've probably been drinking at Cooney's for the last one. I love Cooney's, and I got to get there if it even still exists. But our life together, not only from the professional side, but from the family side, has been a true inspiration, I think, that made us better people. And I think some of you know our story. We adopted 6 African-American kids from the foster care system. God always had in our heart that, and me and my wife, the number one thing was we wanted a family. And we wanted to be parents, but we couldn't. So God put these 6 kids into our life. And how those kids changed our lives, we will never be able to repay them for what they've done for us. And we have a youngest daughter, and I told this story earlier this week, Whitney. When we adopted her, she's about 8 months old, little girl with Coke bottle glasses, wasn't developing, didn't know what was the matter with her. I was blessed to have enough resources to get a optometrist to look at her, and she wasn't developing because she had the wrong prescription of her glasses. And we didn't know what kind of special needs she had. We got her glasses changed, and all of a sudden she started developing, but she had other issues as well. We found out she has cerebral palsy. She is the light of our life. Everybody asked me I've been around all these great athletes, and I've been, in Detroit when Barry was there, when I drafted Adrian Peterson, and now you see Justin Jefferson out there. But everybody asked me, what is the greatest thing you've ever seen in the sports world? And I can go say, well, it was that Minneapolis Miracle when Stephon Diggs caught that ball against New Orleans, and or the 3 times that we were able to make it to the NFC Championship game, but not get over the hump to get to the Super Bowl. But when I sit there and think about it, the greatest accomplishment I've ever seen on an athletic field was my daughter Whitney. And with her big leg braces on that she used to wear when she was 5 years old, she played in the youth soccer league. And she got to play with the other kids that didn't have any disabilities. And one game, the one thing I worked tons of hours, but I would try to never miss one of my kids' events if I could help it. And I happened to be at this game. And in center field, and excuse me if I'm soccer ignorant, but they get to kick the ball to start the game. Not like football, and I won't go into the new NFL rules on the kickoff thing, but that's a whole nother subject. But she kicked the ball, ran up with her braces, Coke bottle glasses, and the ball went all the way down the field and into the goal. And I'm sitting there being a proud dad, and I see all her teammates run and hug her. And seeing the smile on that little girl's face puts life into perspective pretty quick. So when you think you have a bad day, or you think things are not going well, we are so blessed to have a daughter like her, because it puts a whole new light on when you think you're having rough, look at her, because she's an inspiration to us every day and has made us better parents, better people, because we see the world through her eyes. We see the world through all of our kids' eyes. So I know I want to wrap it up here. I know you guys have been sitting here a while, but I wouldn't be here without the people here in Massillon. I wouldn't be here without my kids. I wouldn't be here without my family. And for sure, in hell, as I know, because I don't want to sleep outside tonight, I wouldn't be here with my wife. I'm good, right, hon? Am I doing okay? But one philosopher that once told me, or I read, is that if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And I can tell you tonight, I know I'm in the right room. So thank you very much for recognizing me as a distinguished citizen, and thank you very much for letting me be a part of this community and to be a Massillon Tiger forever. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to present the chairman of the Distinguished Citizens Committee, Mr. Chuck Richards.
Good evening. Tonight we honored 4 WHS amazing distinguished individuals. If I have one word to describe tonight and the whole week, I'd say wow. Wow, because we've had a selection committee that selects people to come in, and we put them into the distinguished citizens from the high school, and we don't know how they're going to present, if they're going to make a connection to you. And they just knocked it out of the ballpark, all 4 of them. Let's give them a nice round of applause for that. There is a quote. It states, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, sacrifice, and most importantly, it's love and passion for what they do." And they represent all this. The spirit of what we're doing tonight, of the Alumni Association, the Distinguished Citizen, and the Scholarship Committee, is to honor WHS distinguished graduates and to raise money for our scholarship program. The history of this program started back in 1988. 37 years later, after tonight, we now have 126 distinguished graduates from Massillon High School from local, national, and international levels. In government, education, healthcare, entertainment, athletics, civic, philanthropy, and the military. Tonight, we also made some history. 1995 graduate Kevin Miller is the first graduate of our new high school. So you can tell that to your siblings, okay. Tonight, we could not make this happen without some amazing people who serve in our community. At this time, I'd like to recognize all 3 of our arms. We're like the 3-in-1. If you are a member of the Alumni Association, please stand and be recognized. Nancy Job is the chairman. Thank you. If you are a member of the Scholarship Committee, Please stand and be recognized. Amy Andrews Sabino is the chairman. And if you are a member of the Distinguished Citizens Committee, please stand and be recognized. Again, thank you all, because this would not happen without you. Sponsorships. We are on a very tight budget, and we're very blessed to have a lot of help within the community. The Massillon City School District, MCTV, not only through donation, but also they're recording this tonight for future legacy. People can go back and watch this forever. The Rotary Club, AA Hammersmith, and Eagles 190. Let's give them a nice round of applause. We like to thank the voice of the Tigers, Bob Wenzel, for tonight being our MC. Throughout the week, we've had some awesome students as student presenters. So let's get up for Hayden Smith, Savannah Petrell, Megan Dingy, Maggie Albrecht, and Hunter Manson. You've also witnessed 32 students tonight receive a $1,000 scholarship from our scholarship committee. And that is pretty awesome. We have, like, again, $840,000 in our account, and the goal is obviously to get that to $1 million someday soon. So let's give it up for all of our 32 students that deserve that. And finally, I'd like to congratulate all these 4 amazing WHS graduates that have distinguished themselves in their chosen career paths. Their accomplishments truly anoint them as ambassadors for Massillon locally, nationally, and internationally. And we are very proud of you. From this day forward, their names, accomplishments, and legacies will live in the hallways of Massillon Washington High School forever. Thank you, and God bless.
At this time, I would like to bring to the what's this thing called? Podium. From the class of 2021, Miss Brooke Hamilton, currently a student at the Cleveland State University.
Please rise and join me in singing the Massillon Washington High School alma mater. Oh, alma mater, Massillon, we stand to sing thy praise with hearts that thrill with worthy pride at thoughts of high school days. Thy friendship's true, thy spirit too, a part of us shall be. O alma mater, Massillon, we're true to thee, and through the long, long years to come, wherever we may be. O alma mater, Massillon, we're true to thee.
Thank you very much, Brooke. By the way, I'm guessing a future distinguished citizen. She's in the theater arts program and has already starred on several plays in Playhouse Square, and she hasn't even graduated yet. Our benediction, once again, the Reverend Walter Arrington.
Indulge me for a moment while I break discipline. And I don't usually break discipline until I come here, so you are a bad influence on me. Because what I want to say tonight, to set context for the benediction, is that we are in the presence of greatness. We have experienced that tonight and even heretofore, because represented here, we have Sheriff Maier representing law enforcement, and Craig Keener, academia and Christianity. And then we have Rick Spielman in athletics, and Kevin Miller for communication and entertainment. And each one of them were just ordinary people who God chose to do extraordinary things. And with us being in the presence of greatness, all of us have an opportunity to aspire to higher things than where we are as ordinary people, because God wants to use all of us in an extraordinary way. And so as a matter of benediction, which is the blessing going out, we're in the presence of greatness because Massillon is a great city. If I was in church, I would get an amen right there. Amen. I am a Massillon tiger dyed in the wool. As I've stated before, if you cut me, I will bleed orange and black. I pastor in Canton, which is a whole nother story. But I want to set this context for the benediction of blessing as we go out, to know that all of us have an opportunity through our faith, as we trust in God, for Him to use us at a higher level than we could ever imagine to go, because these gentlemen tonight have achieved that level, because I'm sure none of them thought that they will be at the level that they are now as distinguished citizens. Amen? Amen. God our Father, we thank you for the wonderful experience you have given to us tonight. You know each one of us, and you know the purpose to which you have made us. My prayer is that as we leave this place, we will aspire to a higher level of living, even beyond our ability to achieve, because we know that with you, all things are possible. We bless you. We love you. We just pray that you keep us safe in our travel, and that our lives will work out for our good, but for your glory. In the name of Jesus the Christ, I pray. And the people said, amen. God bless.
Thank you.
Okay, before we say goodbye, just a reminder that every one of you, if you've not picked up a book on this table here in the front, there are also WHS newsletters available. There's some yearbooks available. And pretty much this wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. God bless. And as Paul Brown would say, Massillon always.